Today's video is brought to you by XS Sights. I'm out here today preaching the good word of the XS Big Dot sight. If you don't like the XS Big Dot sight, then you're wrong. No, I'm just kidding. I started using the big dots because I took a low light force on force class. If you've never had that experience, I could totally see why somebody wouldn't select that sight, but it is my go-to sight. They offer a whole bunch of other things out there, and XS has been a big time, long time supporter of the channel. So I very much appreciate them supporting the mission here at the VSO Gun Channel. Let's get into the video. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's great to be here as always. Thank you for tuning in. You're watching the VSO Gun Channel. My name's Kurt Hallstrom, and today I'm going to be doing a little bit of a reference piece for a larger project that I'm working on. And I wouldn't normally do this, but here is an instance of something that is kind of like the fruits of my labors, so to speak. So many of you who have been watching the channel for a long period of time know that I also, in addition to providing current events in the Second Amendment space and all that sort of stuff, I do product evals. And the purpose of that product eval isn't necessarily to put out a video and tell you about it. It's to display my experiences with that product and help that manufacturer bring the best product to market that they possibly can. And a key provision of that eval is continuous improvement opportunities. And sometimes those continuous improvement opportunities, or critiques as I like to call them, are big things like, hey guys, you need to change materials and make that out of tool steel, not aluminum. And sometimes if it's something big like that, it could be a project ending venture because it just doesn't work economically. And then there are other times where it's like, hey, you need to tweak this and change this dimension ever so slightly, or you just need to do this in your QC process or quality assurance process. I did one a couple months ago that was literally like, you need to go unfuck your website. This is the Mod 1 in 45 from Witt Machine. And I initially did, I guess I've done several videos on the Mod 1 over the years. This is the first 45 variant that I've had, but the construction of the cans is relatively consistent across the board. This is growing to be one of my favorite suppressor companies because, and I guess this is relevant right now, a lot of people think that suppressors are just going to be wildly inexpensive when and if the Hearing Protection Act becomes law. And this is a prime example of a company that is basically cutting all of the extra bull crap out of their product line that doesn't need to be there in order to bring suppressors to the market at a reasonable price. And these things, while dirt cheap as it pertains to the suppressor market, they still aren't $50, right? So anyway, to drive that point home, I want to show you an excerpt from my original video on this product, or its predecessor, I suppose. And that video, I think, was titled like Suppressed Even When Poor. And this is what I said for continuous improvement on this product line. When I pulled this can out of the box, or all the cans, excuse me, and this happened to all three of them, I could smell the red Loctite. And red Loctite is to never be used on a suppressor. It should be rock set. So really, this is more of like a final execution thing. So quick critique. Witt, I know rock set's expensive, but red Loctite is not doable. Now, this does give us a really good opportunity to take a look at the monocore. Anyway, this is not that big of a deal. Happens across the spectrum of cans, but when we have a can that is dependent on a rear thread like that, one of the hottest parts of the can, red Loctite is a no-go. Red Loctite period on cans is a no-go. Rock set. Oh shit. I think I might have just broke my foot. Now, that may seem small as far as all things in relative comparison are concerned, but when we're talking about a suppressor like this, and we're talking about two pieces that are threaded together that are going to have high velocity gases moving through them and projectiles, and it's going to get as hot as it's going to get in the case of a suppressor, that red Loctite is going to be almost immediately compromised. And while it will form this kind of like goo that is going to resist unthreading, it is not going to keep the can together. Roxette is the preferred. Some of you who don't know what that is, basically, red Loctite is what's known as an anaerobic compound, which means that it sets up when the oxygen in the space is depleted. So you basically screw two things together, and in the absence of free-flowing oxygen, it polymerizes and forms this crust, right? Roxette is water-based, and what it does is as that water evaporates, it forms this rock. I mean, it's basically silica that forms in the threads, and it is a physical block, and it makes it rather difficult to get apart. And the reason I bring that up is because today is going to be my 4th attempt to get this can apart because I've been unable to do it. This can has been sitting for a week in water, and that's the method that you get it apart. Is you soak it in water and let that compound be compromised, and then you'll spin it apart. Sometimes you'll spin it the wrong way to break the lattice, and then you can spin it the right way, and it will and it'll come right apart. So we're gonna see if we can get it apart. Some quick scrub here from Otis Technology. The whole reason I had to take this thing apart was so that I could get some high-res photos of it in the new manufacturer's state before we do what we're about to do to it. I need to know what it looked like before, and then we'll be able to compare it to what it looks like after to see if anything changed. That video will be coming relatively soon, hopefully, and I think that you guys will have a good time with that one, so stick tuned for that one. But needless to say, this can is going for a ride, so coming soon, I suppose. The reason that this is important is a couple-fold. First of all, when it comes to just the technical standpoint, rifle cans, which this is a rifle can, even though it's bored in 45, I'll let you guys do some guesses on what we're going to be doing with this thing. But rifle cans, generally speaking, do not need to be cleaned. I have a 5.56 Mod 1 that I have never had apart since I took the initial reference photos for it. Like, it's never been apart. It's got tens of thousands of rounds through it. There's no reason to clean a rifle can unless that you're just being super tism about it, right? Some people are that way. That's fine if you want to do your stuff that way, but generally speaking, you don't need to take these things apart. And you don't want it to come apart when you don't want it to come apart. One of the major ways that a device like this gets damaged is self-disassembly or partial disassembly that ultimately leads to spontaneous, rapid self-disassembly. So what this does for me is it gives me complete confidence that Witt Machine has taken the time to go see how much Roxette do we have to put on these things, and how long do we have to let it sit, and what torque do we use to put the can back together, because Roxette is not cheap. Like, red Loctite is not cheap, but Roxette dwarfs the cost of red Loctite. That little bottle that I showed you in the B-roll is like $90. So, I mean, it does a whole lot of cans. A little bit goes a long way. But what I'm saying is having that on hand, and you can't just go to most hardware stores and buy that sort of thing. It's a specialty item. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, because of the feedback that we provided to Witt Machine years ago we have now changed their whole process and how they put their cans together in final assembly. So it is a confidence thing that I don't necessarily have to scrutinize the manufacturer's work at the level that I otherwise would have. It's what we call a clue. And a lot of consumers don't double check the manufacturer's work. They just assume that it's going to be okay. And then you see stories posted all over the internet sometimes. And there is a little bit of that in that not all consumers use their equipment the same. So some guy might get a thing, shoot it 2 or 3 times, and then like put it in the corner for 10 years and never have detected a problem. I've never had a problem with my blah, 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 even though it has all kinds of problems that they just didn't have the technical aptitude to be able to detect. So knowing that now Witt Machine has gone back through and changed their process, because I'll put it to you like this. The guy who came up with the geometry inside here is probably not the same guy that is turning the wrenches on the assembly line. So it comes down to, like, if you've got like a high school kid that doesn't know what end the sperm comes out of, then he might do something like that, just completely unbeknownst, that results in downstream problems. So what that tells me is that Witt Machine, for instance, has gone through and changed the standard operating procedures to ensure that this thing is final assembly correctly and done to a spec that is going to be, hey, you can take this thing out of the box and throw it on your rifle, check the alignment, obviously, to make sure that it's okay, but you're not going to ever probably have to dick with this thing in any meaningful way, except for good luck getting it off after you've had it on there for 10 or 15,000 rounds, because it's going to be forge welded to your barrel. Anyway, this makes me happy, and I just wanted to report back to you guys. Just bashed my mic. Have a good one. And hopefully we'll see you on another one here at the VSO Gun Channel.